Alrighty, we are about a minute past, so Martin, why don't we go ahead and get started? Um, good morning, everybody. My name is Aaron Bonfilio. I'm with Vctc, the Ventura County Transportation Commission, and today we are, this is the virtual pre-proposal conference for the Transit Integration and Efficiency Study, the RFP number 20-922 that we released earlier in September. On the line and with me today is Martin Erickson, who I'll let go ahead and do introduction.
Thank you, Aaron. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to participate in this pre-proposal meeting. I'm Martin Erickson, as Aaron noted. I'm the transit director for Vctc. Aaron is part of my small but mighty transit team here at Vctc. We've been through a few of these mobile or online RFPs, and they have gone very smoothly so far, which I'm grateful for, as we all kind of recalibrate how we do things in the time of this pandemic. This is, I think, a very exciting proposal, and I again appreciate those of you who have expressed an interest in it. I think it's exciting for a lot of reasons, but mainly because it presents a really compelling challenge. And I think that challenge is something that is illustrative of communities like Ventura County across the state or even the country that have a mix of urban and rural and semi-rural areas and still have a very strong need for transit, and have wrestled and grappled with how it's best delivered since certainly the creation of the Ventura County Transportation Commission, which is just over 30 years old this year. And then on top of that, I think compounded by that is the challenge facing all of us in the post-COVID economy, both just operationally for transit and I think the hope that transit ridership, both bus and rail, will come back to certainly pre-COVID levels in the not terribly distant future, but also importantly the economic impact that the pandemic has unleashed, I think, on public transit funding. I just want to touch on a few items that were highlighted in the staff report that we prepared at our September 11th meeting when we released the RFP. And again, this was at the request from our chair and multiple commissioners to bring an item to address and review transit operations in structure in the county. And this transit efficiency and integration study is going to take a look at that. But it's going to be really important, I think, for all the proposers to take a look at the history, the attached documents that were part of the RFP, especially the last regional transit study, which was completed about 8 years ago, a few years ago, but then a more recent document that was part of the reading in the RFP, which was the 2018 LAFCO study, municipal service reviews from our cities and the excerpts included in that. So I think it's important to take a look at those items. And I just want to reiterate the three questions that I posed in our staff report on that item. And really simply, they were: what level of change, if any, should occur to transit operations and structure in Ventura County? How has the impact of the pandemic affected the current and future delivery of transit? And what other peer communities have effectively restructured their transit operations, and how do they operate? So again, thank you for taking the time to submit on this. I am highly confident the collective wisdom among the proposers and the ultimate eventual chosen consultant will help us, will help Ventura County, and ultimately help the riding transit public get to a better system of delivery of transit operations in Ventura County. So I just wanted to make those opening comments. Aaron Bonfilio of my staff is going to be the main staff person in charge of this. And again, we are excited about the prospects for this project. And again, thank you for taking the time to participate. I'll turn it back over to Aaron.
All right. Thanks, Martin. So just a couple of housekeeping points for the group. Well, we've done introductions and a bit of a project overview. We're going to ask that folks submit their questions using the Q&A chat box. That way we can memorialize and document all the questions that are received and be sure to post them verbatim when they are posted later to our website. We plan as an addendum to the RFP to not only post this presentation and discussion, full video, but also the attendee list in the participant side and the questions that we receive and answers that we provide. Ideally, we'll be able to answer your questions today. However, it's certainly possible that some questions may require us to do some follow-up in written response after the fact. So be looking at the Vctc website for that addendum. We hope to get it up early next week at the latest, so that folks are able to see who attended, who they might wish to partner with, and see any answers that are provided. So with that, I'm going to go on to the next section, which is basically our requirements, and I'm not going to bore you with rereading the entire RFP back. Frankly, that's probably a waste of our time if there might be a lot of questions. So let's see here. I want to make sure we highlight those dates that are very important to this process. The next date in terms of the procurement cycle is the last day to submit questions. That is October 20th. I believe in the RFP it states that we'll supply answers, approximately 10 business days prior to the proposal due date. Please double check the RFP for that exact language, but our goal is to give those answers to the bidder community with ample time to formulate your response should the questions and answers have a material impact. Proposals are due November 18th, and we hope to conduct any oral interviews that are necessary with firms the week of December 14th, and those 3 days in particular, the 14th, 15th, or 16th. Likelihood is we'll pick a single day to interview all firms, but please hold those dates in consideration of this process. And then with regard to contract approval, that's our commission meeting date, February 5th. The goal being that we will have a selection and recommended award identified through just prior to the end of the calendar year, and then work with the identified proposer to finalize contract at that time. So the goal being to come to our commission February 5th with that contract. Generally speaking, we like to have everything wrapped up approximately no less than 2 weeks prior to the commission date. So again, kind of a mid-January timeframe for this process to come to a head. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions. We are also accepting questions in written form by email, so please feel free to submit those questions via email if you don't have anything yet to provide. But I do see approximately 20 unique individuals, or rather 17 in the attendee list. So please, if you have questions, we'll give it a minute or two for you to type those in. I don't see any submitted yet, but please feel free to enter those there, your name, and any contact information that might be missing from your login through the Zoom app. I will add, it's not lost on us that we're in a very unique time given the pandemic, and that the context by which we're pursuing this study is not in a vacuum. We understand that there's a real world reality when it comes to ridership and financial capacity to provide services as a result of the pandemic. So that is part of the study. That'll certainly be an area of consideration that we're very interested in folks reviewing. So I know that the RFP could read as though it were written in any point in time, so to speak, but that was just by nature of the language used, not necessarily to de-emphasize concern regarding the pandemic. And Martin, feel free to jump in and clarify if I've misstated that. The other concern or comment I've heard is that this reads a lot like a COA or comprehensive operational analysis. To the degree that we're asking for review and analyses of the various operations that are in the field, it's not so much a micro review down to the particular route, timing, headway policies of particular agencies, but rather on the macro level, the system-wide Ventura County network, if you will. We would like to make sure that we do an analysis of redundancy, of efficacy in terms of service delivery, and it's not that we need to do a COA of every operator, all 9 operators in this county. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the group if you have any questions. Again, there's approximately 18 folks in the panel there, or in the list. Looks like we have our first question from Joey Goldman. He said, I'm glad you addressed the COA-like elements. Your scope of work has all of the technical components of a transit integration studies I'm familiar with. In my experience, a lot of integration is really about the process and consensus building. So to carry something like this forward, I'm curious, when I look at task 4, do you envision this as initiating the process of building support for integration to complement the technical work, or is it to arrive at consensus on full or partial consolidation, or something else? You know, I'm not sure that all of those are mutually exclusive. Martin, feel free to take a look at the question. I'm not sure if you all can see it on my screen, but it's in the Q&A box down at the bottom or top, depending on how you position your taskbar there. To answer your question, I believe the answer is that we find this process, or we're envisioning this process as the beginning of that support for integration, frankly. But we do understand that there's going to be some differences of how we arrive and what integration means to some of the operators and some of the stakeholders. So there is a component of consensus building here. However, we do have a long list of areas we'd like to cover. So perhaps there's consensus on certain items, maybe out of the gate, and that others require a little bit more nuanced approach and maybe some combination thereof of integration or consolidation.
And Aaron, I'll just add to that really quick. It's a good question, and I think Aaron answered it. But again, we'll go back to that first question I posed. What level of change, if any, should occur to transit operations and structure in Ventura County? I think going into this as looking for any kind of predefined product at the end, you know, it isn't something we're really trying to do. We're just really trying to, getting to consensus would be ideal, but, you know, whatever that looks like. Without making this too much like a philosophical discussion, I'm always reminded of the Voltaire quote, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. You know, I think when it comes to a situation like Ventura County, where you do have 9 transit operators running in a county of less than 1 million people, there's arguably some room for changes, but every place is unique also. So just make that point.
Okay. Next question is, to what extent have Ventura County operators been involved in the scoping of this study or indicated interest in consolidation? I'm going to touch on the first part of that. We did a round of review with our transit partners, transit operators, to make sure that they had an opportunity to comment on the scope. We got some very good feedback, much of which is included, and I think the areas where there was some additional consideration asked for, we've allowed for that, and we have areas that certainly will provide us and them the opportunity to work with the selected consultant to make sure that we touch on those points. For example, being that we make sure to identify ridership in its current state and not in a vacuum, so to speak. I mean, that was one of the areas that we heard about. And indicated interest in consolidation, that's an interesting one. I think that we've had discussions in the past, and certainly you'll see in the background documentation that this topic has come up before. What's different now, of course, is the financial environment that we're all operating in, the ridership environment. So we do see this as an opportunity to take a look at how we're doing things and how we can improve. Again, we don't want to lead in a particular direction. If this study should find other options and opportunities, then that's great. Let's see. All right, I just see the two questions, Martin. I'll add just for background purposes, and the firm selected will get to know her very well. Patty Post with Patty Post and Associates, I think I'm saying that right, Patty, is aiding Vctc in this process, both from a technical consultant standpoint and just general administration of the procurement. She's been brought on board and is participating today as on the attendee side, but she will be assisting Vctc internally. Let's see, there's another question. Says trans site, well, it looks like the first sentence is about the background of this firm, Transite, but the question is, who are the key stakeholders for this project? From a representative at Transite, I'd say the key stakeholders are Vctc, it's the County of Ventura, the cities within Ventura, who more or less all operate transit services in some capacity or another, and of course the district, Gold Coast Transit District. We've got quite an interesting patchwork of transit operators, some of whom are contracted and operated by another city. So in some cases we have, let's say, 9 operators but 7 garages. So that's just a piece of background to kind of give you a sense of what we're talking about here. But I would say that the communities which represent and make up the service areas that we all serve certainly are the stakeholders we're considering here. And in addition, the local university system, in particular Cal State University Channel Islands, is a partner with Vctc, and the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments as well is a partner of Vctc's, both of which help fund and run Vctc's bus service.
I'll just follow up on what Aaron said. The main stakeholders are the operators, and in Ventura County, the operators are reflected by those agencies that directly operate transit, like the Gold Coast Transit District and the Vctc, as well as the cities, almost all 10 cities in that sense, and then of course Vctc itself is the Transportation Commission. I'll also just touch on, glad Aaron mentioned the university, CSUCI especially, and the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, SBCAG. As those of you on the call probably know, or if you don't know, Ventura County has the, I guess, unfortunate distinction of being the largest, urbanized county in Southern California without a self-help sales tax. So we have less direct transit resources than our neighbors, both to the north and south. And I think our partnerships with the university, with SBCAG, with others has been a real critical component, allowing us to run the level of transit we do run. We've had to really find ways to stretch our dollars and make them make them work probably more so than others.
Mm-hmm. The next question, Martin, comes from a Victor Cami. He says, how much staff resources VCTC committing to this project? As the director of the department, do you want to answer that?
Sure. I will answer that. We are, as I mentioned when I opened, we are a small but mighty team. You know, in transit, VCTC overall is an agency of about, when fully staffed, 22 people in administrative staff, 8 of which are in my department, in the transit department. So we don't have a large staff, but this is, like I said, a very important item. Certainly, the efforts of Aaron, myself, Claire Grasty, my other regional planning manager for transit, as well as other folks in the transit department also, and frankly, VCTC being a small agency has worked cooperatively with our other departments, whether it's programming or regional transportation planning. I think the importance of this project will bring in, I think, review and expertise from my colleagues, other directors, managers within the agency, of course, as well as the assistance from Patty Post. So we plan to be very engaged.
Correct, and there will also be a committee, a working group established that includes the transit partners and the stakeholders, as mentioned in the RFP. So we do have staff resources and management from other agencies as well. The next question comes in from the same individual. I think it's Satinder Bahala. You asked, does VCTC aggregate the data from all of these stakeholders and operators, or the plan is to collect this under the project? Certainly there'll be a level of data collection required. However, VCTC as the RTPA and in our role generally does collect quite a bit of data. We recently deployed a single countywide ABL system which aggregates ridership data through passenger counter devices, as well as on-time performance, route information, and we have a network GTFS RT feed for all operators under one roof from a fixed route perspective. And we also perform the triennial performance audit and have been doing so for all recipients and claimants in this county that operate transit services. So there is quite a bit of data associated with those reports that is available as well. There is a recent albeit somewhat dated now, 2015 SRTP that was completed that aggregated a fair amount of data related to the other operators as well as our own systems which we operate directly. So I think it's fair to say VCTC has aggregated quite a bit of information and will provide that, as well as stakeholders will provide that, but there will be some collection, more contemporaneous data, certainly from the standpoint of the pandemic, that is going to be needed. I'll also add that the state controller reports are, done, if not nearly done presently, so those will be made available. And as noted in the RFP, there will be a memorandum prepared and supplied to the awarded consultant related to a variety of data points, mostly historical, but certainly we plan to provide that, what's listed, I think, in Exhibit A or Attachment A of the RFP.
And I'll just add to what Aaron said, the TDA performance audits were just completed last year. So those are on the VCTC website under publications. And one of the changes that actually I initiated upon coming here was to do the comprehensive performance audit as the RTPA. So that includes every transit operator. And there is a separate report on each one. In the past, we just did the Article 4 folks. So I think that's some good data also.
Next question comes in. What is the budget that has been allocated for consultant services to conduct this study?
I'll take that one, Aaron. So in the staff report that we did in its September 11th meeting, we indicated that we would be returning to the commission early in the new year in 2021 But it will really, I think, depend on the level of proposals we get, but we do intend to budget adequately for it. I think looking at what was done in the last iteration for this study, and there were many different components for it, and I think it actually was modified, but I would just say, as a round number, at least $200,000. But again, that's just an estimate at this point.
And should we add, Martin, that it won't be FTA or federal money, it'll be through...
No, it will be STA. It'll be funded through STA.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see if there are any other questions.
And I'll just add too, that was also indicated in the staff report that the likely funding source will be STA fund balance.
All right, let's see if we've got anyone else. Other questions? All right, I don't see anyone else. Folks, I'm going to check the attendee list, see if anyone's got their hand raised. Well, we can drop people into the meeting, allow you all to talk and be on video if you'd like. Feel free to raise your hand if you have something you'd like to verbalize, but I haven't had the opportunity to type it out, so to speak. Did everybody leave after we talked about budget? Sorry. Okay, well, Martin, I don't see any other questions, and the panel, or excuse me, the attendee list seems to be staying stuck in size, so I don't see any change there. Oh, one more question. So, you're welcome, Mr. Goldman, Joey. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, Martin, shall we close?
Yeah, if that's the case, I just again want to extend my thanks to all of you. Having been, working in public transit for a very good part of my career, but having also been on the consultant side and working for cities and other agencies, I really do think this is going to be a unique and I think very exciting project, one that will have, I think, a lot of relevance again to other counties, areas, geographic areas like ours. And, if I think if you had told me, back in even January or even February that we would be having, these discussions about response to the pandemic and the effects it's had, I think it just shows us that trying to peer out in the future can be a challenging exercise sometime. But I do think particularly the importance of public transit, the need for its effective and efficient execution is more important than ever. So again, thank you for considering participation.
All right. Goodbye, all. We're going to go ahead and end it here at 11:29. Thank you so much.
Thank you.